One of the things that takes the KDPS to another level is when you choose not to use a standard EVA or cork piece and work simply with the tube that is attached to the hood. Now, there is one alternative to a tube attached to a hood that I want to briefly mention. That's a pretty versatile piece that is often forgotten by people. This piece here is called an HPS. This is a 16. If you'll notice, it has a lip, a recessed lip all the way around. So basically, it's a hood everywhere. So when you attach a piece of cork to this, which we have the sizes that fit, and you screw it onto the reel seat, when it starts to come down on the foot of the reel, it doesn't matter where it tightens. It will always tighten and hold because you don't have to get the foot of the reel into this little recess, this little pocket that the metal hoods are made to capture. So this piece is real versatile. It matches the reel seat material, and you can bring it down and tighten it up on the reel without any consideration for where it's going to stop. So the cork piece for this is an FGH 25C, and the product is an HPS. An HPS, we have it in a 16. We also have it in a 17. 17 is going to be plenty big for heavier rods in all kinds of situations. And this again can be uploading so that this ends up in your hand, or it can be downloading where it becomes a foregrip. But don't forget the HPS in your design considerations. Anything that we talk about with the KDPS, we can pretty much talk about with the HPS. So if we're going to now move away from the standard pieces of cork and EVA that fit on the KDPS and go to, say, one of the fancier carbon thread covers, then we've got some other issues. What we first need to do is all thread covers come in a 3-piece assembly. You're going to have a base ring, you're going to have the carbon tube, and you're going to have a cap ring. Now the cap ring has a tenon on it, or a seat, to make sure that it goes in the carbon tube correctly. So that's a consideration in measuring the tube. But if we put the base ring on this KDPS, and this is our perfect fit hardware, we have carbon covers, thread covers for the KDPS 16 and 17. So whatever part you need, we have. The tube fits right over there and butts up against the ring. But now, of course, we can't get the ring on. So what I need to do is measure this distance and subtract this shoulder. If I do that perfectly, the shoulder will butt the top of the tube and everything will glue together well. That's really not important. If the tube is glued in well and this is not cut perfectly square, as long as there's enough room for this to recess down as it should when it's finished, you're okay. I know a lot of people shy away from these projects because they are worried about an absolute flush cut on the KDPS. Don't worry about it. Cut it with a hacksaw, a coping saw, a Dremel, anything you want to cut it with. If it's a little bit off, it's not going to matter because it's down inside this assembly, and once it's glued up, nobody's ever going to see it, and it doesn't have any effect on the integrity of the assembly. So I'm going to measure the distance from the base of the ring to the top of the carbon. We see that it's 1 1/8 inch. So if I take that measurement and subtract the length of this tenon, which is about 3/16, then I should be able to put this whole assembly together just by trimming this KDPS. So the next step is going to be to mark the KDPS on where it needs to be cut. Now, I would normally use calipers for this, but I seem not to be able to find them right now. So we had the 2 1/8 for the overall length of the base ring and the carbon tube. And we need to subtract 3/16 of an inch from that for the flange on the cap ring. It's going to be right along in there. Not a very good mark, but like I explained, it's not critical. And what I've done is I've taken a dowel, a simple wooden dowel, and I've turned it down to match the ID of the KDPS. Now I have this on a mandrel that I can put on a lathe. One of the other things I do is attach this KDPS on here, push it down where it's tight, then I can actually put it on the lathe and I can use a parting tool and I can cut it right here, which gives me a nice clean cut. But I've found something recently that I think is even easier, and it does a great job, and that's nothing more than a simple tube cutter. And you can get these at Harbor Freight, any good tool store. And I just open these up, get the line exactly where I want it. Okay, once you have this secured, like I say, I've erred on the shorter side of the line I marked because it's not going to make any difference once it's inside the tube. You turn this tight and then you turn the seat, scribe it. Then you tighten it up a little bit, turn it again, tighten and turn, tighten and turn, tighten and turn. And eventually, as you tighten this, you'll produce a nice, clean cut on the tube of the KDPS, and it should be, with no sanding or anything, it's ready to accept the trim parts that you want to add. To me, this is a lot easier than chucking everything up on a lathe and having to deal with all of that. So now we take this off, we add the base ring, dry fit the base ring, dry fit the outside ring, and if you'll look in here, you'll see a little flange. I did cut it a little short, which is no problem because once it's all glued up, everything is going to work. Now, if you glue this assembly up and set it aside, do this before you put your reel seat on, and then add this after the reel seat is put on, and you're good to go. And regardless of the KDPS, whether it's the 16 or the 17, or the HPS 17 or 16, you can add all sorts of things. Now, the trim that we have developed does not fit the HPS, but if you wanted to do this same thing with an EVA piece or something like that, you could. But this opens up a world of possibilities for customizing or trimming out one of the 6 existing Fuji seats that we mentioned before. You don't have to put the regular KDPS hood on with a standard piece of EVA or cork. You now can hide the thread with one of these carbon tubes on ACS, ECS, TCS, VSS, all of the current reel seats that Fuji manufactures. So it's a real handy, real fast way to get that thread covered, and it'll work on any size KDPS. The next step in trimming out your reel using a shortened KDPS is to actually put the reel in position, because now what you'll find is the threads of the reel seat are too long. We obviously can't get the cap on there because the threads are going to stick out the top. So the next issue we face is getting these threads trimmed off. Now this is, I think, the most difficult part of this process, because this is not a straight tube. You can't roll it and cut it. You can't get it absolutely squared up in a miter box or anything like that. But the good news is it doesn't matter a lot, because if you just mark it and cut it, if you cut it crooked, you can sand it to what you guess is straight. It really is inconsequential, because all of this is going to cover it up. So I never quite get one of these cut perfectly straight. The threads want to track your blade off to the side. So sometimes they look pretty gnawed up, but you don't have to worry about it, and it doesn't seem to make any difference, and it's certainly not going to hurt the integrity of the assembly if that's not perfectly straight. I know a lot of guys out there are very meticulous in their rod building, and they will want to create a way to cut that perfectly straight. I don't know how to do it. I can't come up with a jig that'll cut it straight. You'd have to have something to hold this here, and a cut-off saw that'll cut it straight, a hacksaw blade, whatever. But I just do the best I can with a Dremel tool. And I'm going to take this over here to the edge of the table, and I'm just going to roll it with a Dremel tool and cut where I think the mark is. And then I'm going to sand it off and bring it back, and it should be short enough to accept the assembly. And one of the things you want to do here is wear eye protection for sure, because the blade is spinning at you, but you got to climb the blade up onto that thread. Kind of touchy. Okay, now that we have this cut off, we need to clean it up a little. And I'm sure, you know, somebody with a good bandsaw could make this work a lot better. But if it's any consolation, I have cut off some of these that were pretty ratty, and I've never seen one fail to thread. It seems like no matter where you cut them, the threads will pick up and the hood will go back on. So that's a good thing. Like I say, I don't spend a lot of time cleaning this up too much. That's going to be almost enough right there. Let's see if we cut it the right length. Even as rough as that's cut off, once you get the thread lined up in the groove, it'll go on there fine. Now let's reassemble this thing with the, and our thread is flush. So the question is whether or not we've cut it off short enough, and we may not have. Oh yes, we did. So you can see we've got the reel tightened down, so we've cut the threads the right length. We've got the hood on and firmed up in the reel foot. So this assembly is ready to go. It's ready to glue up. And like I say, you can glue this all together and set it aside, and then just go forward with your arboring your reel seat, seating it against your rear grip, get everything ready to go, and then take the fully glued up assembly and put it on your reel seat, and you're ready to go forward with the rest of your build. The only thing left to do is to make sure you order the right pieces for the KDPS 16 or 17. And to do that, I strongly urge you to order one of these posters from us. We'll send it to you absolutely free. It makes a nice addition to your rod shop if you can find a place to put it on the wall. But as for example, once you look at this and study it for a while, you begin to realize how much sense it makes. I know it looks incredibly complicated right now, but let's say you decide you want to buy a TVS 16 reel seat, and you're wondering about the trim rings that would go behind that. If you find on this list right here is a TVS 16, so it's telling you that you need the trim ring RST 17 for that particular reel seat. And if you order an RST 17, you'll get a trim ring that fits the back of the TVS 16 perfectly and also matches a grip that you're going to put on there. So any reel seat that will fit our trim, and it's most of them, any reel seat, you just locate the reel seat in red somewhere on this chart. If you want a winding check, winding checks fit everything. There's no problem there. Carbon tube, you find the reel seat for a TVS 16. You order the SCS TVS 16 carbon tube, and that's the right one to fit here. In our case today, we're talking about the KDPS. For the KDPS 16, you order base ring 205 in a solid color, red, blue, silver, gold, or BR205D if you want the double stripe rings like we're using on this poster. You order carbon cover CTC 205, and you add the color number at the end, R, B, S, or G, and you order cap ring CR 1222. Now the cap rings, these first two numbers after the letters are the diameters, the IDs that your blank will go through, because that assembly has to leave, it's free floats on the blank. So if you've got an 11.5 millimeter diameter on your blank, you would order the CR 1222. If it's 13.5, you'd order a 1422. If it's 15 to 15.5, 14.75, whatever, you'd order a 16.2 or 1622, CR22. If you get these three pieces combined and ordered correctly, then you'll have the pieces that go together just like they did on the table over here. So we have all the pieces for the KDPS 16, we have all the pieces for the KDPS 17. And we're discussing these today because they're so versatile and they'll allow you to cover the threads on so many different seats that Fuji already offers. In a future video, we'll discuss some of the PTS and TVS thread cover assemblies that are a little different. But for now, we just concentrate on the KDPS 16 and 17. So you can order from this. Like I say, if you'll send an email to info@anglesresource.net with your mailing address, we will send you one of these at no charge. And I mean, it's a nice poster, and it costs us a lot to ship it, but we will do it, and you can put it on your shop wall and have all the information you need to use any of this trim on any Fuji seat or grip that you choose to. We also have this as a PDF download at our website, and we're going to put the link up on the screen so that you can download it directly from YouTube. All right, when you get all this together and you start to understand how all this works, you get a lot of different configurations. I'm going to show you a few here. There are rod builders out there that do a much fancier job than I can ever do. I'm mainly interested in the function of Fuji parts, but these things can be made to look beautiful. This is a VSS seat with a KDPS with a standard stock EVA in front. This one is set up downloading, so you've got a nice foregrip up here, but this could just as easily be assembled uploading. And you could modify this front grip to be shorter. You have a nice soft place for your thumb because of the way the VSS is configured, and you've got a good rear grip back here that's just about the right length to hit the base of your heel. So that's one thing you can do. When you get into some other configurations, this is an SK2, and we'll discuss this probably in another video, but this is an SK2 with the thread cover tube on this piece right here, and it's covered with EVA. It's a nice look. A split grip with a nice look there. But this piece has the same tube that comes out the back of the KDPS. And you cut that tube off, and you could add the perfect fit trim if you wanted to. And here's an example of an ACS seat with the SK2 plastic hood with sleeve and cork added rather than the standard hood. So that's another look you can achieve by mixing and matching parts from different reel seats. This doesn't always work. It happens to work pretty good with the SK2 hood and the ACSM seat. And then finally we have this rod has our new wind grips, our new custom wind grips. These grips, by the way, have a slightly different profile than any of the other wind grips you see out there. They've got a very tiny little Angles Resource logo for grip, but they've got a slight hint of a Japanese styling to them. You'll see that there's a very, very mild radius here and here, unlike the perfectly straight grips that most of the wind grips are done. They all come down to a 19 millimeter end piece so that they accept the 19 millimeter winding checks, which are very, very popular beyond the Fuji line. And this is an ECSM seat with a nice, short, lightweight matte or gloss carbon twill tube on the front. And it looks nice as well. So there's no end to the things you can do, and I am unimaginative when it comes to all the different things that true custom rod builders can do. I mean, there is no limit to the versatility and application of the KDPS to cover threads. And I think covering threads it seems to be a very popular thing to do right now, and it certainly makes a finished product more comfortable. So try one, experiment with it, see if you can come up with an idea we haven't come up with yet. Get a tube cutter so that you can get them any size you need them, and just have fun with it. And send us pictures of anything new you come up with. There's certainly no shortage of rod building videos on the internet. Guide wraps, handle configurations, lathe turning, decorative wraps, EVA turning, you name it, it's there. So we're going to concentrate on some Fuji products and how to best use those products. But if there's anything that Fuji manufactures that we stock here at Anglers Resource that you're confused about or that you'd like more information on, please send an email to info@anglersresource.net and we'll organize a video around it that should help you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. More to come.